Have you ever looked at trash and thought it was just waste? What if I told you those old bottles, cups, and tins could become the most beautiful part of your garden? Welcome to Nest Nature, where we turn the ordinary into extraordinary. In this video, we'll explore DIY trash garden ideas that can transform tiny yards, patios, and backyards into colorful spaces of creativity. This video has timestamps, so feel free to jump to the ideas you need most. And if you have questions, leave a comment. I read them all. If something inspires you, recreate it your own way and make it truly yours. Maybe to you, I'm just another face on a screen. But behind this content, there's a real story and a real family. This isn't just a video. It's a piece of my heart. Every like, every comment, every subscribe, it truly matters. When you hit subscribe, you're not just supporting a channel. You're helping a dream stay alive, giving a small family hope, one click at a time. Thank you for being here. Thank you for seeing me. In a world where forgotten objects often fade into shadows, the humble glass sandal finds new life beneath the soft glow of a garden sky. Once left aside as trash, chipped and unwanted, these delicate forms have been reborn as vessels of color and bloom. Painted in hues of lavender, sunflower yellow, and gentle mint, they sit gracefully along the borders of a rustic garden, their surfaces gleaming like treasures discovered in a fairy tale. Each sandal cradles earth and root, where marigolds unfurl their golden faces, asters stretch in lilac pride, and chrysanthemums dance gently with the late autumn breeze. Tiny Japanese anemones, shy yet resilient, peek out from their unusual homes, reminding every passerby that beauty does not demand perfection, it only asks for a chance to breathe again. Placed near pathways and patios, these sandals whisper to the garden wanderer, "Step softly, for here lies a memory renewed." The painted patterns, dots, swirls, and rustic florals, catch the afternoon sun, their brightness inviting laughter and curiosity. Children lean close, marveling at the strange yet enchanting sight of shoes blooming with flowers. Adults smile, sensing in their hearts a tender nostalgia, a reminder of childhood summers when creativity knew no limits. The bamboo fence behind them frames the scene with quiet strength, while pergola beams hold vines and fairy lights that twinkle at dusk. In the company of rustling leaves and the hum of evening insects, the sandals seem to sing, a gentle hymn of transformation, of color rising where grayness once stood. What once was discarded has become art. What once was junk now gathers the admiration of neighbors, who linger at the edges of the yard, enchanted by the idea that even the smallest, strangest things can shine when given care. It is not only the flowers that bloom in these glass sandals, it is the very spirit of resilience, of creativity, and of hope. In every blooming sandal lies a story, of waste turned to wonder, of brokenness mended with color, of a garden made more alive by the unexpected. And as twilight settles, painting the sky in gold and violet, these sandals remain, steadfast and beautiful, guardians of a backyard where imagination never dies. When twilight falls upon the garden, a gentle magic awakens. Along the quiet pathways where asters bend and chrysanthemums glow in autumn's embrace, the humble teacup begins a new story. Once tucked away in cupboards, chipped or forgotten, these rustic vessels now hold tiny flames that guide footsteps through the evening air. Painted in tones of sage, terracotta, and golden yellow, each cup becomes more than ceramic. It becomes a lantern, a keeper of warmth. Mounted upon wooden posts or dangling from iron hooks, they scatter light across the garden paths, flickering gently with every passing breeze. The marigolds nearby shimmer as though touched by gold, while sedum autumn joy deepens in its burgundy hues, catching the soft glimmer. Walking here feels like stepping into a living fairy tale. The pathway is not simply stone and soil, it is a canvas where light and bloom weave together. The tiny Japanese anemones sway in rhythm with the flames' dance, their petals casting delicate shadows across the ground. At times, the lantern's glow paints the leaves with hues of fire and honey, at others it softens the night into a lullaby of calm. Children chasing fireflies pause in wonder at the glowing cups, while neighbors, curious and charmed, linger by the fence to see the unusual yet enchanting scene. Conversations begin, laughter is shared, and the garden becomes a gathering place not just for plants and petals, but for people and stories. As night deepens, the pergola draped in ivy watches over the glowing line of lanterns, its beams bathed in golden light. The bamboo fence nearby seems to whisper softly in the cool night breeze, framing the pathway like an old painting reborn. And within each cup's flame, there rests a memory of kitchens once filled with tea and laughter, now transformed into gardens alive with wonder. This is the essence of rustic beauty, the merging of past and present, of humble objects turned into radiant treasures. These cups no longer wait in silence on forgotten shelves. They lead the way through moonlit gardens, teaching us that light can be found in the simplest of things. In every step along the glowing pathway lies a reminder that joy, creativity, and beauty bloom brightest when shared. Beneath the beams of a rustic wooden pergola, color takes flight. Where once there were only plain metal tins, rusted and discarded, now hang bursts of life and artistry. Each tin can, painted in playful hues of turquoise, peach, and sunflower yellow, dangles gently from twine, swaying like bells in a garden choir. From within these humble vessels, blooms spill forth, golden marigolds beaming like tiny suns, asters whispering in violet tones, chrysanthemums standing tall in the cool autumn air. Sedum autumn joy deepens the palette with burgundy richness, while Japanese anemones add soft, floating petals that catch the late sunlight. The effect is both whimsical and serene, a living canopy of color that transforms the pergola into the heart of the backyard. As you step beneath this handmade sanctuary, the world feels different. The patio below, with its rustic wooden chairs and a weathered table, seems more alive, more inviting, as though waiting for laughter, stories, and cups of tea shared at dusk. Overhead, the cans form a playful mosaic, each one unique, each one humming with the rhythm of recycled beauty. The pergola itself becomes more than wood and structure, it becomes a frame for imagination. Children gaze upward, pointing at the cascading flowers, inventing tales of magical gardens hidden in tin can lanterns. Adults linger longer here, charmed by the simplicity of transformation, finding joy in knowing that beauty often comes not from new things, but from what we choose to see differently. When evening arrives, fairy lights entwined along the beams sparkle, their glow mingling with the colors of the flowers. The cans shimmer faintly in the golden dusk, and the air feels filled with warmth and possibility. Neighbors passing by pause to admire, and conversations spark. "How clever," they say, "how wonderful that something once thrown away can bloom like this." And so, in this backyard haven, art and nature meet. The pergola becomes a stage, the cans become storytellers, and the flowers perform their timeless dance of resilience. What was once junk has risen again, carrying petals, color, and joy into the garden sky. It is here, beneath these colorful tin can planters, that ordinary evenings become extraordinary memories. Along the edge of the garden, where fences often stand plain and silent, a new melody begins. Tiny cups, once tucked away in dusty cupboards or chipped and forgotten in kitchen corners, now gleam in fresh coats of paint, mint, terracotta, coral, and sunflower yellow. Each cup clings to the fence like a charm, a jewel that whispers stories of tea once shared, now reborn as vessels of bloom. Inside them, marigolds stretch their golden petals to the sun, asters nod in soft purple, and Japanese anemones flutter like silk in the breeze. Even small herbs, fragrant and lively, find a home in these whimsical vessels. The fence, once ordinary, now shimmers with character, transformed into a gallery of color and life. Walking past, one feels as though the garden itself is smiling. The fence no longer divides, it invites. Neighbors pause to admire the quirky beauty, children point with delight at the tiny, cup gardens, and visitors lean close to breathe in the scent of chrysanthemums mingling with fresh autumn air. By day, the cups sparkle under sunlight, their patterns and pastel hues catching the eye like strokes of a painter's brush. By evening, as the sky deepens, their silhouettes form a quiet rhythm against the fading glow, a gentle reminder that even the smallest things can hold beauty when touched by care. The bamboo fence nearby adds to the rustic harmony, its natural texture blending seamlessly with the charm of the cups. Ivy climbs slowly upward, weaving its way between the little vessels, softening the edges with green embrace. Each step along the pathway feels guided, as if the fence itself has become a storyteller, leading guests deeper into the heart of the garden. In this creation lies a simple truth: beauty is not about grandeur, but about transformation. A chipped teacup becomes a cradle of flowers, a weathered fence becomes a tapestry of joy. What once was forgotten now sings with color and purpose, proving that art can bloom in the most unexpected places. And as the seasons change, these tiny cup charms will stand as guardians of the garden's whimsy, a line of smiles along the fence, reminding every passerby that the ordinary can, indeed, be extraordinary. In the corner of the garden, where space is often scarce and every inch must be cherished, a tower rises, not of stone or brick, but of humble tin cans. Once cast aside as junk, dented and dull, these vessels now gleam with color. Painted in shades of turquoise, lavender, coral, and sunflower yellow, they stack one upon another, forming a cheerful sculpture that reaches toward the sky. Within each can, a story blooms. Marigolds ignite with golden fire, asters whisper in cool lilac tones, chrysanthemums spread their petals like autumn crowns, and sedum autumn joy deepens the tower's palette with crimson richness. Japanese anemones trail softly, their blossoms swaying with every gentle breeze, as though the tower itself were alive, breathing beauty into the small garden space. The effect is enchanting. What was once a forgotten corner of the backyard becomes the centerpiece, a vertical tapestry of color that draws eyes and sparks conversation. Guests gather near the patio, their laughter mingling with the rustle of leaves, as they marvel at the ingenuity of turning trash into treasure. Children circle the tower, tracing patterns on the painted cans, their fingers smudged with joy. From dawn to dusk, the flower tower transforms with the light. In morning, it gleams under soft rays, dew glistening on petals. By afternoon, it stands proudly, colors blazing against the backdrop of a rustic pergola and a bamboo fence draped in ivy. As evening falls, the tower casts shadows that dance upon the stone pathway, whispering stories of resilience and creativity. More than decoration, this creation carries a lesson. It reminds the gardener that beauty does not demand vast spaces or costly designs. It thrives in the smallest of places, with the simplest of means. A can once destined for rust now hosts life, a stack once thought trivial now brings wonder. And as the seasons turn, the tower remains steadfast. Blossoms may fade and renew, but the structure endures, always ready to cradle new life. In its colorful tiers lies a promise that even in thrift, there is abundance, even in waste, there is possibility, and even in the smallest garden, there can be grandeur. At the edge of the garden, where fences often stand in quiet shadows, a new enchantment takes form. Bottles once emptied and forgotten are given fresh coats of color: lavender, mint, turquoise, coral, and set carefully along the wooden rails. Inside them, tiny fairy lights flicker, awakening a glow that feels like starlight captured in glass. By day, the bottles catch the sun, their painted surfaces gleaming like jewels against the backdrop of chrysanthemums and asters swaying in the breeze. Marigolds cluster below, their golden tones harmonizing with the soft hues above, while sedum autumn joy deepens the palette with its crimson richness. The fence becomes not just a boundary, but a stage where light and bloom perform together. As evening drapes its velvet sky, the transformation grows magical. The bottles begin to shine, casting warm pools of light upon the garden path. Japanese anemones, pale and delicate, appear almost translucent in the glow, their petals shimmering as though kissed by moonlight. Neighbors passing by pause, drawn by the quiet wonder, their eyes widening at the sight of ordinary bottles turned into fairy lanterns. Children whisper stories of secret worlds hidden inside the glowing glass, while adults linger in the soft calm, soothed by the gentle rhythm of light and shadow. The fence, once a plain divider, has become a gathering place of imagination, an invitation to step closer, to slow down, to believe once more in small wonders. Above, a pergola entwined with ivy and dotted with tiny lights completes the picture, while the rustle of leaves and the hum of crickets weave the soundtrack of a living fairy tale. The bottles glow steadily, resilient against the cool autumn air, promising beauty not only in daylight but in darkness too. This is the charm of the fairy fence. It teaches that magic need not be distant or grand. It can be crafted from glass once tossed aside, from hands willing to paint, from lights placed with care. And in its glow, the garden itself feels alive with story, as if every bottle were a chapter, every flower a verse. When night falls fully, the bottles remain beacons of joy, guardians of whimsy, reminding all who pass that even the smallest scraps can shine like stars. In the gentle hum of the garden, where flowers sway and leaves murmur with the breeze, a chorus of wings arrives. Drawn not by store-bought feeders, but by the charm of old teacups, painted, cherished, and reborn. Perched on wooden posts and beams, the cups gleam in sage green, terracotta, and sunflower yellow, their bowls filled with seeds and fruits that welcome the small visitors of the sky. Sparrows gather first, their tiny feet gripping the cup's edge as they chirp with delight. Robins soon follow, their crimson chests glowing against the rustic colors of the cups. Finches flit from branch to branch, their wings catching the light as they dive into the feast. Each bird becomes a dancer in this rustic performance, and the cups, once silent vessels of tea, become stages for life's song. Around them, chrysanthemums bloom like golden crowns, asters soften the scene in lavender tones, and marigolds scatter warmth across the earth. Japanese anemones lift their delicate faces to the sky, while sedum autumn joy deepens the garden's palette with burgundy richness. It is not only the birds that feast, but the eyes and heart of every onlooker. Children watch with wonder, their laughter mingling with the flutter of wings. Neighbors lean over the fence, charmed by the idea that something as simple as an old cup could create such a lively gathering. The patio itself seems brighter, the backyard more alive, as though the cups have brought not just birds, but a sense of communion between sky and soil. As evening descends, the cups glow faintly in the last golden light. The birds settle into nearby branches, their songs softening into whispers of dusk. The bamboo fence behind them holds the scene in rustic embrace, while the pergola above waits quietly for twilight stars. These rustic bird feeders tell a story beyond utility. They are symbols of welcome, of harmony, of transformation. They remind us that beauty is not only for human eyes, but for every creature that shares the garden. And in the flutter of wings, in the chirps that echo through twilight, lies a truth. Even the smallest gesture of care can turn the ordinary into sanctuary. As dusk slips gently into the garden, the patio awakens with a glow of quiet wonder. Tin cans, once tossed aside and forgotten, now stand proudly, painted in hues of turquoise, lavender, and sunflower yellow. Each surface is punctured with delicate patterns, stars, petals, swirls. And within them, small candles flicker to life, casting shadows that dance across the stone floor. The patio transforms. No longer a plain space of steps and stone, it becomes a stage for light's performance. Chrysanthemums nearby catch the glow, their golden blossoms shimmering like crowns of fire. Asters soften the scene in lilac tones, their petals reflecting the light with a quiet dignity. Marigolds beam, bold and cheerful, as sedum autumn joy deepens the palette with crimson notes. Japanese anemones, pale and delicate, appear to float in the warm light as though touched by stars. Sitting here, one feels the world pause. The soft rhythm of flickering flames invites stillness, while the playful patterns on the ground remind the heart of the simple beauty born from creativity. The pergola above, draped in vines and fairy lights, frames the scene like a rustic painting, a cozy shelter where friends might gather, where stories might be told. Neighbors wandering past are drawn in by the glow. They stop, smiling, marveling at how simple tin cans could create such atmosphere. Children watch the shifting shadows, their laughter mixing with the hum of crickets and the rustle of autumn leaves. The patio becomes more than a corner of the home, it becomes a sanctuary, alive with charm. By night, the candle holders burn steady, their flames whispering softly in the breeze. The bamboo fence behind them absorbs the glow, its rough texture catching golden highlights. Every can tells its own story, once discarded, now cherished, once dull, now radiant. These patio candle holders remind us that beauty need not be expensive, nor grand. It can be found in the humblest of objects, in the smallest gestures of care. A flicker of light, a painted surface, a flower in bloom, all weaving together to turn a backyard into a place of wonder. And in that gentle glow, both garden and soul find warmth. In the quiet corners of the garden, where sunlight drapes itself gently on wooden shelves and weathered crates, a new farmhouse story is told. Not through grandeur, but through simplicity, through teacups once forgotten, now painted in rustic shades of terracotta, sage green, and cream. Each cup cradles soil and sprouting herbs, their fragrance mingling with the sweet perfume of surrounding blooms. Rosemary stretches upward, its needles brushing against the painted rims. Mint spills gracefully over the edges, its leaves glistening in the morning dew. Thyme and basil thrive together, their scents weaving into the garden air, inviting hands to brush gently and release the warmth of their oils. Around them, chrysanthemums and asters add bursts of color, while marigolds beam like tiny suns at the base. Japanese anemones sway softly, their pale blossoms giving the corner a serene rhythm. The wooden shelves, worn smooth by time, hold these tiny vessels proudly, as though they were treasures. A bamboo fence behind frames the scene with rustic strength, its natural tones harmonizing with the farmhouse charm. Above, a pergola wrapped in vines provides shelter, dappling the herbs with playful patterns of shade and light. Here, the garden corner becomes a retreat, a place where one might pause with a book, or sip tea while inhaling the mingled scents of earth and herb. The cups, each unique, tell their own story, some painted with soft pastels, others with playful patterns. Together, they create a mosaic of color and life, reminding the heart that beauty thrives in the simplest of gestures. Visitors pause here, charmed by the creativity. "How clever," they whisper, bending closer to breathe in the fresh mint, the savory thyme. Neighbors smile at the rustic display, inspired to imagine their own corners filled with small vessels of life. Children, curious, pluck a leaf of basil and marvel at its fragrance, learning that gardens are not just to see, but to touch, to smell, to taste. In this farmhouse herb corner, time slows. The everyday becomes extraordinary, the forgotten becomes essential. And as seasons shift, the cups remain, always ready to host new life, to remind every passerby that even in small corners, beauty and abundance bloom without end. In the heart of the backyard stands a gazebo, a place of shade and gathering, now adorned with a garland unlike any other. Not of silk or lace, but of tin cans, once forgotten, once tossed aside. Painted in turquoise, coral, sunflower yellow, and lavender, they dangle from beams with twine, swaying gently in the breeze. Each can cradles blossoms, marigolds glowing like tiny suns, asters whispering in violet tones, chrysanthemums nodding with autumn pride. Sedum autumn joy adds a deeper crimson, while Japanese anemones drift delicately in the air. Together, they form a living garland that circles the gazebo, turning it into a sanctuary of color and bloom. When sunlight spills across the garden, the cans gleam, their painted surfaces catching the day's warmth. The flowers within them sway like dancers, trailing vines cascading down as though weaving a curtain of green. By evening, fairy lights strung between the cans awaken, glowing softly, their golden shimmer mingling with the blooms. The gazebo becomes a lantern itself, radiating warmth into the night. Here, families gather for meals, laughter echoing beneath the floral canopy. Friends linger with tea, charmed by the playful beauty of painted cans reborn as vessels of life. Children run in circles, their giggles mixing with the rustle of leaves, pausing only to admire the bright garland above. The bamboo fence beyond stands as a quiet guardian, framing the scene with rustic simplicity. Stone pathways lead toward the gazebo, their edges lined with asters and marigolds that seem to bow in welcome. Every detail contributes to a sense of harmony, of creativity rooted in the earth itself. This garland is more than decoration, it is a celebration of renewal. It speaks of the joy found in transformation, of waste turned into wonder, of gardens made richer by the imagination of hands that see possibility where others see only trash. And when twilight deepens, the gazebo glows like a beacon, tin cans shimmering in the light of candles and stars. The garland whispers softly in the evening breeze, beauty can be simple, joy can be handmade, and even the humblest of objects can illuminate the heart of a garden. In the stillness of a Japanese-inspired garden, where stone paths curve gently and bamboo whispers with the wind, bottles once discarded now carry new purpose. Painted in soft shades of sage, lavender, and terracotta, they hang like lanterns from wooden beams and bamboo poles, each cradling a small flame. Their glow scatters across smooth river stones, inviting footsteps to linger. As evening descends, the bottles awaken. Their light is not harsh, but tender, casting ripples of gold upon chrysanthemums blooming in autumn pride, asters bending gracefully, and sedum autumn joy deepening into crimson shadows. Japanese anemones, delicate and pure, seem almost to float in the lantern glow, their pale petals luminous against the night. The garden transforms into a sanctuary of calm. A koi pond reflects the flicker of flames, its surface mirroring the lanterns as though the stars themselves had fallen into the water. The bamboo fence nearby frames the scene, rustic and steady, blending seamlessly with the quiet beauty. Walking through this space feels like stepping into another world. The bottles line the path, their gentle flames guiding the way. Above, a pergola draped in ivy adds layers of shadow and light, while the air fills with the fragrance of marigolds warmed by the evening. The lanterns seem to breathe with the night, their glow pulsing softly, a rhythm in harmony with nature's heart. Visitors pause in awe, their voices hushed by the serenity. Children, enchanted, whisper of fireflies trapped inside the bottles, while adults close their eyes, savoring the peace that radiates from the scene. The bottles, once seen as trash, now embody quiet elegance, proving that even the humblest of objects can illuminate a space with grace. This Japanese garden corner is not merely decoration, it is a reminder that beauty need not be extravagant, but found in the delicate interplay of light, shadow, and bloom. That creativity is the bridge between waste and wonder, and that in stillness, the soul can find renewal. As night deepens, the bottles continue their soft vigil. They glow against the darkness, guardians of calm, storytellers of resilience. In their flicker lies an unspoken truth: even broken paths can be lit again, even discarded things can guide us home. In the quiet charm of a cottage garden, a whisper of the sea arrives, not through waves or tides, but through teacups reborn in the colors of the shore. Painted in turquoise, sandy beige, and coral pink, each cup becomes a tiny vessel of coastal wonder. They cradle succulents, hardy and sculptural, their forms echoing the resilience of ocean cliffs and windswept dunes. Placed upon rustic shelves, wooden crates, or along a bamboo fence, the cups shimmer with seaside spirit. Around them bloom marigolds with their golden fire, asters with their lavender grace, and chrysanthemums glowing proudly in autumn light. Sedum autumn joy deepens the palette with its burgundy tones, while Japanese anemones add a touch of soft elegance. Seashells scattered at the base complete the illusion, as though the tide itself had left treasures in the garden. By day, Sunlight reflects off the painted surfaces, making the cups glow like coastal gems. The succulents within, aloes, echeverias, and trailing varieties, thrive in their small homes, their forms both delicate and enduring. Children pause to touch the smooth leaves, fascinated by their unusual shapes, while adults smile at the clever fusion of seaside imagination and rustic gardening. By evening, the patio corner comes alive with a different magic. A pergola above, draped in fairy lights, casts a soft golden glow over the display. The cups gleam warmly, their painted wave motifs catching the flicker of light. It feels as though the ocean has woven itself into the backyard, bringing with it serenity and calm. Neighbors who pass by stop to admire the unexpected beauty. So fresh, they murmur, charmed by how discarded cups have become coastal art. The tiny planters inspire dreams of holidays by the shore, of sandy feet and sunlit afternoons, even in the heart of a small suburban yard. These seascape cup planters are more than decoration. They are a reminder of transformation. That even the humblest of objects, when painted with care and given a new role, can transport us far beyond our fences. They show that the sea can live in a cup, that the shore can bloom in a garden, and that beauty is never bound by size or place. Along the edges of the garden, where pathways begin and flower beds unfold, a harmony takes shape, bamboo and glass bottles standing side by side. The bamboo, tall and slender, speaks of nature's strength and simplicity. The bottles, painted in shades of lavender, turquoise, and sunflower yellow, shine with human creativity, their colors catching the sun like fragments of joy. Together they form borders that are not mere dividers, but works of art. By day, the border gleams with texture and color. Chrysanthemums rise proudly behind, their golden petals glowing in the autumn light. Asters nod in soft violet tones, while marigolds scatter warmth across the ground. Sedum autumn joy adds depth with its rich burgundy hues, and Japanese anemones lift pale blossoms like lanterns above the greenery. The border holds them all gently, framing their beauty with rhythm and balance. The bamboo offers a natural heartbeat, its warm tones grounding the garden in rustic calm. Between them, the bottles gleam, each one a memory reborn, a fragment of glass turned into sculpture. Some bottles hold fairy lights that glimmer at dusk, their glow mingling with the soft shadows of evening. Together, they create a dance of earth and color, of tradition and reinvention. Neighbors walking past pause to admire. So unusual, they whisper, marveling at how simple materials have been woven into something so enchanting. Children run their hands along the bottles, fascinated by their smooth painted surfaces and the sparkle of hidden lights. The garden becomes not just a place of flowers, but of imagination, inviting all who see it to dream. As night deepens, the border shines in a different way. The bamboo darkens to deep gold, while the bottles, lit from within, glow softly like fireflies captured in glass. The pathway becomes a ribbon of light and bloom, guiding footsteps through the quiet of the backyard. This border tells a story of balance, of nature meeting craft, of waste turned into wonder. Bamboo and bottle, side by side, remind us that beauty thrives when differences come together. And in their harmony, the garden finds not just structure, but soul. When the wind stirs in the backyard, it carries not just the rustle of leaves, but the gentle music of tin. Once dull and discarded, the cans now gleam with new life, painted in turquoise, coral, sunflower yellow, and sage green. Hung with twine from pergola beams and bamboo poles, they sway gracefully, each movement releasing a soft chime that lingers in the garden air. The sound is not sharp, but tender, like whispers between flowers. Chrysanthemums glow nearby, their golden petals shimmering in rhythm with the breeze. Asters lean gently, their purple blooms swaying in time, while marigolds beam boldly at the foot of the pergola. Sedum autumn joy deepens the garden's palette, and Japanese anemones lift their pale blossoms, catching the soft shimmer of painted metal above them. By day, sunlight strikes the cans, their colors glinting as they turn slowly. Painted with dots, stripes, and delicate floral motifs, they become more than mere objects. They are moving sculptures, ever-changing as the light shifts. By evening, as the sky fades into amber and violet, the chimes take on a new role, not just to sing, but to soothe. The garden itself seems to breathe with their presence. Children pause their play to listen, tilting their heads in wonder. Neighbors passing by hear the soft chimes and smile, drawn closer by the unexpected music. For those who sit beneath the pergola, the chimes bring a sense of calm, their sound mingling with laughter, with conversation, with the quiet hum of twilight. These rustic wind chimes remind us that beauty is not only seen, it is heard. That joy can be found not just in what blooms, but in what sings. They carry a story of transformation, of junk reborn into art, of sound crafted from silence. And when the night deepens, when the stars emerge and the garden drifts into quiet, the chimes remain, swaying gently in the cool air, guardians of memory, keepers of peace. Each note they release is a reminder, even the simplest things can carry music, even the humblest objects can touch the soul. On the quiet walls of a tiny patio, where once there was only plain brick, a new story unfolds, crafted not from fresh tiles, but from fragments of old cups. Chipped, broken, or mismatched, these humble pieces have been painted anew in lavender, turquoise, coral, and sunflower yellow. Together, they form a mosaic, a tapestry of color that transforms the wall into art. The shards, once forgotten, now bloom in patterns of petals and leaves, echoing the very flowers that surround them. Marigolds beam with golden fire at the patio's edge, asters soften the palette with violet charm, and chrysanthemums rise proudly, their blossoms mirrored in the mosaic's playful designs. Sedum autumn joy adds depth with its burgundy tones, while Japanese anemones sway lightly, as if bowing to the artwork they frame. By day, sunlight strikes the wall, making each shard glisten. The pastel hues shimmer like stained glass, while the rustic imperfections of the cups give the mosaic character, warmth, and soul. Visitors pause in awe, running their fingers gently over the textured surface, marveling at how broken pieces could create something so whole. By evening, the patio glows differently. As fairy lights strung along the pergola flicker on, the mosaic takes on a softer presence. Its colors blend with the warm glow, casting gentle reflections on the surrounding flowers. The bamboo fence behind creates a natural backdrop, amplifying the handmade charm of this tiny corner. Children see pictures in the mosaic, flowers, stars, even hidden faces. Neighbors admire the creativity, inspired to see beauty where others might see only waste. For those who sit with a cup of tea in hand beneath the pergola, the mosaic becomes a companion, a reminder that even brokenness can be made into something lovely. This tiny patio wall is more than decoration. It is a symbol of resilience, of artistry born from imperfection. It whispers the truth that every fragment has value, that color and joy can be pieced together from what once seemed lost. And in its vibrant patterns, it invites all who see it to believe, beauty can rise, even from the shards.